All right, so today's the exciting day. I just got the JCR exhaust coming into me. I think they shipped it about 3 days ago, and I don't know how magically it just appeared at my door this morning. I was expecting a couple more days, but hey, I'm not going to complain. It did take them 6 weeks to manufacture this exhaust. It seems like they had a big backlog of orders. Understandably, why? Because they're really doing well. The exhaust sounds amazing. And so finally, after 6 weeks, I was able to get it. But the good part is, once they shipped it, it was here within a couple of days. So just opening the box, I haven't seen the exhaust yet. But basically, the very first thing you're going to see is this kind of packet with the JCR authenticity certification. So if you ever want to sell the exhaust, it basically comes with this. It helps you resell the exhaust. I'm gonna go and grab some latex gloves. I don't want to put any fingerprints all over the exhaust, especially because it's titanium. It's going to turn into all kinds of colors once it goes through the first heat cycle, so I don't have any fingerprints on it. I'm just going to go quickly grab a latex glove and back. You guys ready? I'm very excited about this. There's so many of this fluffy stuff. I have to find a way to dig the exhaust out. It's going to be a big mess. Alright, I'm going to bring a bucket to get rid of these guys. I don't want them fly all over my my garage. The exhaust looks amazing. A couple of thoughts here. The tips themselves, they look good. They kind of they're not smooth like the I don't know, the material they use to coat the Inconel is a little bit, it's not smooth, right? So it's kind of matte color. I'm gonna try not powder coat them, but I'm gonna try to use some ceramic coats on these, just so that from a maintenance perspective, they're easier to clean. But I already see, on this side, it started to kind of get chipped, so I'm a little bit worried if chipping is gonna be an issue with these type of coating. But yeah, these tips really mimic the factory look. That's kind of what I wanted to go for. I think they're a little bit even better than the factory look because it doesn't have, once it gets fitted here, you're not going to have the double pipes that you have in the OEM setup. And the OEM setup, when you look in, you see kind of a pipe within a pipe, but this looks pretty clean, so I like that. What else? So the exhaust, the first thing you're going to notice about it is extremely light. I can pick it up if I barely have the right leverage, but I can easily pick it up with one hand. It's supposed to save about 10 kilos compared to the OEM setup, so that's also pretty good. I'm looking at the welding, and the welding looks so nice and smooth. This is probably the best welding I've seen in my life, to be honest with you. The welding looks very seamless. It's really well done. No wonder it's as expensive as it is. You're looking at almost an $8,000 exhaust. But all in all, I think it's pretty much worth it. for the unique sound that it makes, and the fact that there's a pretty good used market for these type of exhausts, the higher end ones. You probably, if I ever had to sell it, I don't think I'm going to be losing a lot of money, or maybe that's the lie I'm telling myself now. They also send this bracket. I can already see like some like fingerprints. I wonder if this was heat cycled. But because it doesn't have all those kind of cool colors, I don't think it was. I'm just a little bit bummed that there were some fingerprints. At the end of the day, it's just an exhaust. It's going to go under the car. It's not going to matter as much. But yeah, so looks pretty good. All right, so I want to do a quick walkthrough of everything, just to do a recap after the install, but I'll let you watch the installation process in somewhat detail. But I think it helps to understand and have a game plan of how to kind of go about installing the exhaust. So the very first thing you want to do to take off the old exhaust is, obviously there are 5 bolts on this side. You want to get them all off. And this is the OPF filter, and you have another OPF filter on the other side, obviously, and then there are other 5 bolts. There's a stud that basically stays in place, so you don't need to mess with that. Just get that bolt loosened out and basically disconnect those OPF filters from the muffler. That's the very first thing you do. The second thing I had to do in the OEM exhaust, unlike the JCR exhaust, the OEM exhaust actually has hangers from the top. So you'll see in the installation process, I actually take those hangers off, and I don't need it with the JCR exhaust. So you just need to take them off. Once the hangers are off, and once the OPF filters are disconnected, the only other thing you need to do is basically disconnect the vacuum lines from the valves. And there are also a bunch of hangers. So the OEM exhaust has these valve controllers on the top side. The JCR has it in the bottom. So that's why, as you can see, I had to reroute the vacuum line and get it strapped down to this section. Just want to make sure that it's not close to anything hot. You don't want your vacuum lines to be connected to your OPF filters or touch your OPF filters in any way. So once you get those things kind of loosened up, we can really play around and get the exhaust out. That's not a problem. Now, the problem that we had installing the JCR exhaust was really this piece. So as you can see, there's a slight bend here. From the factory, there's no bend going on, so this thing is straight. And with that being straight, it actually, it's not in the right place. So the whole exhaust is sitting deeper inside this opening, right? So the tips were actually touching this plastic here. So we had to play around a bit to get it right. There are a few things it's good for you to know. So the first one is, they have 2 sets of clamps that help you adjust the resonator pipes. What you want to do, you want to make sure that your so this is one area, right? This is one area where you can make adjustment. Obviously, when you put this brace, this is for hanger. So these 2 are what connect the the pipe to this hanger and really holds the exhaust from the bottom. But so these should obviously be loose, but that's not what you use to adjust the resonator. This is simply for hanging the exhaust. Now these other two are used for, to some extent, adjusting the angle of the pipes, this X pipes. And then there's another set of clamps, as you can see up here. And there's another one down there. And those clamps, really, you can use them to adjust the resonators. So I believe these ones are what you use to adjust the pipes, the tailpipes, and then this one, and then the one on the other side is what you use to adjust the resonators. The idea of the adjusting resonators is to make sure that they don't touch your, your car in any way. So you want to make sure that there's enough space, like where I put my hand, nothing is touching anything. And also within the pipes, right? You want to make sure that there's enough space between the pipes so that no two pipes are really touching each other. Now, I mean, it doesn't look like that. It looks like they're touching, but believe me, there's a bit of a space there. It's really hard to get everything sorted out in a way there's no vibration, in a way there's no touching going on. So it's not super easy, but I think if you have time and patience, you can get it done. I wish it was a bit more of an OEM fit where I didn't have to spend so much time. Like, I feel like these pipes need to be a little bit bent down so that there's more room on the top and you have more space to play with them. But it is what it is. I guess not everything is perfect, but yeah, that's how I got my JCR exhaust set up. But I love the colors. I must say, the colors look really good. First piece I'm going to take off is this really cool looking diffuser here. And the way you do that is a T25, and there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 T25s that you basically undo, and it should just drop down. All right, so these are the OEM hangers. Basically, when you take the nut off, you have to make sure you hold this, and then so that it doesn't spin. Now, because the JCR exhaust doesn't have a mount in this side, we want to go ahead and loosen up this nut here and basically remove these hangers, because it seems like the JCR exhaust does not need these. There's going to be another kind of a hanger bolted to this side. It's almost like holding up the exhaust, so that should be that, plus the OPF nuts should be able to keep the exhaust in place. Because the JCR exhaust is a lot lighter, maybe about 10 kilos lighter, it may not need this additional support on the top. All right, after a couple of hours of playing around, it's finally installed. I think we got it right. So the biggest hurdle was basically this bracket that gets installed here. The challenge is it really sits as an angle, so it's a little bit sitting off, maybe by an inch. And so my first thought was that you have to pull down the exhaust, but it turns out as long as you can start the thread on these two bolts, you know, and then getting the bracket on, even though it's sitting off the angle, if you go ahead and torque it down, it's really going to slightly bend this bracket here. And that's what, looking at all the pictures of how everyone else has done, it seems like everyone ended up kind of bending this to fit really flush with that, with those two mounting points. So that was the biggest issue. Other than that, what you want to do, you want to keep all of these resonator clamps loose. Well, these two are resonator clamps, and they're also another clamp up there, another clamp up there. So you want to keep those two loose. It helps you to kind of adjust the resonators and the resonators and the pipes. What you want to make sure not happening, there's nothing touching here, because you know, if they are touching, if the pipes are touching, they're gonna create some vibration and some noise. So you want to make sure that there's enough gap all around, right? So everything is nice and clear, and also nothing is touching the heat shields, because you don't want that. And also make sure you have enough gap between the tailpipes and this plastic diffuser, because otherwise the heat can potentially create some issues. Oh, and the other thing is, you know, from the factory, the vacuum lines are mounted using a bracket up there, because in the JCR design, the valve controllers are actually sitting in the bottom instead of sitting on the top. You would have to take the vacuum lines off of those hangers and probably find some good mounting points somewhere on the chassis away from the OPF, because this is going to get super hot, and find a way to mount this as such so that, you know, it's away and it's not moving and rattling about. So that's about it. I guess the next thing is to just get the car started.